What is up, gamers? We're back again with another epic cool video, and I did a poll on my community tab, which is something I'm deciding to do now to, come up with, or just pitch video ideas to anybody who will listen, I guess. And so you guys decided to make another Tom's video. So you know what? It's really long, like really, really long. So I'm gonna dice this up into like two parts, right? So just to clarify before we get started, this is a lore video about Thomas the Tank Engine. Crazy that it has lore, right? But it's about the books that the TV shows are based off of, because the TV shows are really all over the fucking place. And I'm not trying to deal with all that. So we're doing the books, which has a kind of clear storyline. And the first part will be like, the beginning to like 1950, in the 1950 to whenever the books ends, which is like 2011. So I'm not exactly sure how long this video is going to be. Pretty long, probably. But I do enjoy, hearing you guys what you want to see. So I'll probably do that again. I already did another poll. It was about Red Scares and Lake Lanier. But anyways, I want to go ahead and start this video. So let's get straight to the lore, guys. All right. So I was going to originally do this video as like, me voicing over stuff. And then, I put something over it. But I really had no idea what to put over it. So I'm just going to speak to you guys. But anyways, here we go. We're starting at 1806. And this is the occurrence of the first railroad on Sodor. And that railroad is, drumroll please, it's like a slate mine where horses just go up and down it. Yeah, operated by horses and guys. That's pretty lame as hell. And yeah, pretty much for like the rest of the early 1800s up until like 1850 or something, nothing exciting happens like in the terms of railroads. Sodor history is kind of intertwined with railway history, so there's not really. But anyways, speaking of 1850, around that time, around 1856, I believe, I'll put something up here if I'm wrong, the first steam engine powered railway opens, and it's called the Sodor and Mainland Railway, and it's opened on the east side of the island, around England and whatnot like that. And 3 little box engines work there. Their names are Neil, and that's it. The other 2 are unnamed, unless you count fan names, I guess. But yeah, we do get to know about Neil, and we see him appear taking Skarloey to his new home. And speaking of Skarloey, he comes to the island in 1865 and to open his new line around the town of Skarloey, around around Crovan's Gate. And so he's one of 2 engines, by the way. And so the second engine comes, his name's Reneus, later that year, and they start working on that line. All right, so then another standard gauge line pops up. It's called the Wellsworth and Sudbury Railway. It's on the west side of the island now. Yeah, pretty much that's all I have to say. 3 saddle tank engines work that line. They're unnamed, and we don't know what they look like, because why would we? That's kind of unnecessary. All right, so then around 10 years after the Wellsworth and Sudbury opens, this new narrow gauge line opens around the northwest of the island, and it's called the Mid-Sodor Railway. And it has its very first engine. His name is Duke, and he's like probably the most notable one that everybody knows about. But anyways, after this, another standard gauge line opens. I know it's like 3 at this point. I know, what a big number. I can't even count that high. But anyways, yeah, this operates from Tidmouth to Elsbridge and is operated by 3 coffee pot engines. I don't know why they're so obsessed with the number 3. But yeah, 3 coffee pot engines, which Glenn is one of them, which is mentioned in the TV show, but so he doesn't really count in the book lore. But anyways, yeah, that happens sometime around like the 1870s, 1880s, around that. But now, to cap off the 1800s, around 1899 or so, there's this railway in the highest mountain range in Sodor. The Coldie Fell Railway starts to open. It's a rack railway, which, what a rack railway is, because mountains are really tall and stuff, and, trains don't really have good traction going uphill. They have, like, racks to connect them easier to the track, make them go up farther. So that's pretty much what it is, like a mountain railway. But unfortunately, before literally the day it opened, its number 1 engine, Godred, who was apparently so full of himself because he was named after like the king of Sodor or something. He just fell off a fucking cliff and died, and was used for spare parts, allegedly. That's up for debate, but I think he actually died and was used for spare parts. But yeah, that caps off the 1800s, and we are not even close to being done. Alright gamers, we're in the 20th century now, 1900s and stuff. So to start this whole thing off, the Mid-Sodor Railway gets a new engine. It's the number 3, and his name is Falcon, which is Sir Handel, but that's later on. Yeah, he arrives to the railway. And also, in 1912, the Tidmouth and Elsbridge and the Wellsworth and Sudbury fuse together into one. You see the hand movements here? I'm describing it to you. They fuse into one, and they become if I remember correctly, the Tidmouth, Wellsworth, and Elsbridge Railway. I think either that or Tidmouth. It's a bunch of fucking towns together in one name. It's a mouthful, so there's no way I'm gonna get it right without, reading off the script itself. But yeah, those fuse into one. That's pretty cool. And then 2 years later, in 1914, all the railways, including the Sodor mainland, all the standard gauge lines, fused together into one to create the Northwestern Railway. And this is the railway that Thomas and all of his buddies live on, throughout the TV show and stuff like that. So we're finally here, you know what I'm saying? And this is also where some friendly faces start showing up. Like in 1915, a certain engine borrowed from the neighboring Furness Railway on like the mainland is an engine called Edward, and he goes there, goes to Sodor. And later that year, in 1915, some tank engine from southern England, Thomas, arrives, and they help construction on the NWR. And finally, whenever the construction on the line is done, Thomas is sent over to the terminus of the railway, which is Vickerstown at this time, to become the station pilot at that big old station there. And then in 1920, after the whole war, Thomas is made the number 1 engine on Sir Topham Hatt's railway, which I think is pretty cool. And then also Edward follows suit later that year, becoming the number 2 engine. Also in 1920, the Mid-Sodor Railway gets another new engine, the number 4 Stuart, which is later Peter Sam. And him and Falcon become, pretty quick friends. Anyways, since being, since, you're the whole central railway of an entire island, you're gonna get pretty busy, just any day, goods and passengers and whatnot. And so what the NWR does, instead of buying more engines, they just loan them out, or they get loaned engines from other railways. And one of these engines is an engine called Henry, and he's green and stuff, you might know him. And he arrives around 1922, 1923, if I remember correctly. And he arrives, right? But he's not what Sir Topham Hatt ordered, like, at all. He's a totally different engine. So he pretty much got swindled like a fool, like an utter fool. And he goes on to say this about Henry. I ordered an Atlantic, and that son of a bitch, I assume, he sent me that. So, no cursing, Topham, no cursing, okay? This is a family-friendly channel. But, to add to the Henry shenanigans, his dumbass stops inside of a tunnel while it's raining because he thinks that, the rain's going to spoil his paint or whatever. And then, he gets walled. He's like, I'm not coming out. What are you going to do about it? And then Sir Topham Hatt puts a fucking brick wall in front of him and tears up the rails. That's what he's going to do, I guess. Boom. And then, due to Henry's absence, he was the strongest engine on Sodor at the time, or at least the strongest permanent one. And so they order a brand new, state-of-the-art, beautiful, brand new express engine. And that express engine is Gordon. And he arrives there, he's a cocky asshole, as express engines tend to do. We all know that. You tag your local express engine. Aren't they just such cocky bastards? But anyways, and then he becomes the designated express engine and is now the number 4 on the railway. But anyways, since being a cocky asshole, he breaks down eventually, right in front of Henry's tunnel while pulling the express, which is what it's called now because, Henry's in there. He's in there for, I think, a couple of weeks. And, since Gordon's boned, Henry's really the only one strong enough to pull the express with some help from Edward. And so they break him out of there, fire him up again, and him and Edward take the express, and it's such a nice little moment, you know what I'm saying? Over in Peel Godred, in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, some electric company's like, hey, we made a hydroelectric dam NWR. Since we're way up in the mountains, you should build a railroad up here, and we'll just, use electric engines, power it with the hydroelectric dam. And the NWR is like, okay, we'll do it. And so around 1924, I want to say, that line gets built and is the Peel Godred branch line from then on. Thomas the Tank Engine gets tired of doing bitch work, which, obviously, I'm sure moving coaches and trucks around for your entire life would get boring eventually. So then him and Edward swap places for the day. And he gets into a whole shebang of, whimsical nonsense, but, it all gets solved in the end. And then in 1925, the fifth member of the NWR just appears out of fucking nowhere, just is a runaway train. And that guy's name is James. And he has a black coat of paint to begin with. That's pretty cool. But yeah, after he gets in a crash and almost fucking dies, Thomas saves him and helps clean up the mess. And because of this, Thomas gets awarded with the Farquhar branch line, which was the former Elsbridge and Tidmouth and Elsbridge Railway. Yep, Tidmouth and Elsbridge. The former Tidmouth and Elsbridge Railway. Which means that the coffee pots are then taken out of service. Which, I'm surprised they've lasted that long. It's been like 40 years. Dang, old as hell. And after that whole ordeal of James almost dying, he is then awarded a new coat of paint, which he's red, new brake blocks, because that's the reason he was in an accident in the first place, and the number 5. So now he's the number 5 engine on the Northwestern Railway, which is pretty freaking awesome sauce. I don't understand why he's rewarded for getting into an accident, but oh well. Later, I think either 1926 or later that year, but the 3 big engines, Gordon, Henry, and James, or as I call them, the 3 bitch engines, am I right, guys? But they decide that they're tired of shunting their own trucks because, Thomas is busy on his branch line doing his whole branch line shenanigans, and they're busy shunting their own trains. They get tired of that bullshit. They're like, okay, we're going on strike. And so they do, and Sir Topham Hatt's like, okay, well, I guess I'll go find another shunter, and he does, and he finds one in Percy the Green Engine. And he is then brought back to Sodor and becomes the number 6 engine on the railway. Yay! So on the Mid-Sodor Railway, there's this number 2 engine. His name is Stanley. He's an American engine. And his problem is that he's a stupid little bitch and keeps on wibbling and wobbling all over the tracks, getting into accidents and stuff. And so the director's like, hey, you better cut that out, mister, or I'm going to send you to the back of the shed, turn you into a generator. You put tubes through your freaking mouth holes. Yeah. And Stanley's like, no, and then he gets into another accident, and that's what happens. He's turned into a generator, and I'm assuming mouth tubes get put through his mouth holes, but that's terrifying to think about. But yeah, he gets turned into a generator and gets put into the back of the shed, to the absolute horror of Falcon and Stewart. I don't blame him. That's awful. Cutting off your limbs and being turned into a generator. That's horrifying. That's awful, gross, ewy. And it's behind you every night when you sleep. That's awful. All right, so to expand on the whole Henry thing that I mentioned earlier whenever he got introduced, his whole problem is that his firebox is way too small. He can't build any steam, so that makes him rather sick, and, he can barely function. But that problem is temporarily solved with Welsh coal. I don't know how that's solved, because it shouldn't solve this area of how his firebox is small. It should only solve a steaming problem. It shouldn't... Whatever, man. But I'm not the one who made it. But yeah, that's temporarily fixed. That's not really... It's expensive. Welsh coal's expensive. But, that... Sir Topham Hatt doesn't even have to send him in to get repaired, just, brand new. Because Henry gets into a fucking accident, and it's a real serious one. Crashes into the back of a train while pulling the Flying Kipper during the night because the tracks were frozen together. I'm pretty sure someone died. At least one person died in that accident. That's to tell you how bad it is. But yeah, after Henry's fucked up, so they send him over to the crew workshop over on the mainland to be repaired. So, yippee, awesome. Now, just to let you guys know, that was 1935. The 30s and 40s are kind of a blip in Sodor's history because, number one, Great Depression and World War II, that's not really great material to write children's books about. Like how Gordon's driver Bartholomew II died in a bomb accident, but yeah, that's kind of a blip, so we're just gonna skip over that. And the only thing I have to mention about the 40s is that in like 1945, Skarloey, who at this point is like 80 years old, and he's still running. Unsurprisingly, he breaks the fuck down and is then taken out of service to be repaired, to have an overhaul, which will take forever. Anyways, 1945, the same year Skarloey gets fucked up, the Railway Series books are published. Yes, that is canon in the Railway Series books, that the Railway Series books are published in that whole universe. So 1947, the Mid-Sodor Railway, after experiencing some, roads being more popular, different rail networks being built around, kind of screwing them over, would spell the death of the railway. And then, they close. All the engines are sold off. Stewart and Falcon go somewhere to the aluminum works. I almost said aluminium. I've been watching too many British people. But yeah, Duke, the #1 engine, is stuck up in his shed and just left there. Then in 1948, the Sodor China Clay Company opens after finding, China clay deposits in Brendam on Edwards Branch Line, bringing two little mischievous little fuckers with them, Bill and Ben. Oh, I want to take them and squeeze them to death like soda cans. That's pretty much it for the 40s, but I'm going to give you guys a little treat. I'm not going to stop at 1950. I'm going to stop at the end, or at the middle of the 50s, 1955. A little treat, huh? All right, starting the decade off with a bang. Thomas gets in trouble with the police, and, that's never good for anybody, and it's the fact is brought up that a tram engine is needed to run Thomas's line, and so Sir Topham Hatt, remembering that he went on vacation that one time to like West Anglia and saw a tram engine there, he was like, I'm gonna go find him. And so then he inquires about that tram engine, his line's closing, and so Sir Topham Hatt purchases him, and Toby now finds a home on Thomas's branch line and becomes the #7 engine on the Northwestern Railway. After like a billion fucking years, Rheneas finally breaks down, but does it in such a badass way that I don't think anybody could ever compare to how cool he is. He breaks something while taking a passenger train, but makes it multiple more miles while being broken, which is just badass, and he's a cool guy. I don't think anybody else could be as cool as him. And so there goes the two Skarloey Railway engines, and so Stewart and Falcon are bought from the Sodor Aluminum Works and are brought over to the Skarloey Railway to work, and they are renamed to Sir Handel and Peter Sam, named after the controller of the railway and the chairman or something. I forgot. Some guy who's important. But Skarloey finally returns from his overhaul, which was like 10 years ago at this point. And after Sir Handel shits the bed, he's finally allowed to go back out and work again. And then the old ass man breaks down again. Are you dead ass right now, bro? Gordon is a big fat idiot and a big baby, which we all know that, obviously. And in the process of trying, because he has to take a goods train, he in the process of going on the turntable, he jerks forward and goes off the track and into some mud and gets stuck there and gets his express taken away, which rightfully so. You're a jackass, dude. But luckily for him, he gets it back after saving Thomas, who fell down a mine, which is, one of the more famous episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine. And luckily so, because this is 1953, the year Queen Elizabeth II was coronated, and that's who was going to be on the express Gordon was going to take. So poor guy, but luckily he gets it back, and the Queen of England visits Sodor in 1953. So after Percy is there as the station pilot for the main terminus of the Northwestern Railway for a couple of years at this point, he gets bored again, which it's boring work. You can't really defend it. So after he gets into an accident in the harbor or something like that, Sir Topham Hatt goes to the Great Western Railway. Goodness gracious, I just fumbled that. He goes there and he gets a new tank engine, and his name is Duck. And his real name's actually Montague, but apparently he waddles like a duck, and that's why people call him that name. But yeah, he arrives and is technically the 8th engine on Sodor, which in the Railway series he isn't given the number 8. He keeps his old Great Western Railway name or number, but in the TV show, he gets the number 8. All right, gamers, so that caps off the kind of the 1950s up until 55. And yeah, that's part 1 of the comprehensive guide to Tom's tank engine lower. That's so much. It's so much, dude. You wouldn't expect there to be so much, but it really is. Let's hope this gets a lot of views. This is a pain in my beehole, man. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.
What we do here is go back.
Oh,